Poor day everyone, so we're going to be looking at percentages for the first part of the session today, and this is just a video to help you with some recap before you go on and attempt the questions below. So, to find 50% of any number, well 50% is equal to a half. So we would divide by 2. To find 10%, we would divide by 10. And this is the key bit. From 10%, we can then find 5% and 1%. So, to find 5% of any number, we take the value that we found for 10%, and we divide it by 2. 5 is half of 10, so we take the value we find for 10% and half it. To find 1%, there are two ways of doing this. You can either take the value for 10% and divide by 10. That is my preferred way, or you can just divide by 100 the original value. That's just a little bit of a setup, just to refresh your memory. We're now going to go through some examples which will help you with a question here, which says, calculate 60% of 300 meters. Now there are two ways of doing this, so I'm going to split my page in half, and you can decide which way is best for you. So one way is to say, well, to get to 60%, the first thing we need to do is to calculate 10%. To find 10% of the number, we do 300 divided by 10, which is 30 meters. If I know 10%, I can then find any multiple of 10%, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. So to find 60%, I take the value for 10%, and I multiply it by 6. The value for 10% we found out was 30 meters, so we're going to do 30 times 6 to give me 180 meters. So my answer for 60% of 300 meters is 180 meters. Notice how I've left the units on my answer because I was given units in the question. That's important. If you're given units, you need to make sure they're left on the answer. Another way you could do it than this is you could have broken 60% down. In your head, you could have thought that 60% is the same as 50% plus 10%. So to find 50% of a number, we half it. So we do 300 divided by 2 to give me 150. If you're unsure of that, you could do a bus stop on the side of your page, and 2 goes into 3 once, remainder 1. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 0 to give you 150 there. Then 10% is going to be 300 divided by 10, which is 30 meters. I forgot my meters there, sorry. So therefore now we're going to say that 60% is going to be equal to 150 plus 30, so 180 meters. Both very good ways of going at it. You just pick whichever way you prefer is best. So now we've got 45% of 80 centimeters. I'm just going to stick to one method from now on, and I'm going to stick to my preferred method. So to answer this question, I would calculate 10% first. So I would say 10% is going to be 80 divided by 10, which is equal to 8 centimeters. From that 10%, I can then find 40%. So 40% is going to be equivalent to my value for 10% multiplied by 4. I know my value for 10% is 8 centimeters. 8 times 4 is 32 centimeters. I can also then find 5%. 5%, as I said earlier on, is going to be my value for 10% divided by 2. My value for 10% is 8 centimeters. So I'm going to do 8 centimeters divided by 2 to give me 4 centimeters. I'm then going to say that 45% is my value for 40%, which is 32 centimeters. Add my value for 5%, which is 4 centimeters, and therefore the final answer is 36 centimeters. So 45% of 80 is 36 centimeters. And on to the final example then. we need to calculate 21% of 340. So again, the first thing I'm going to identify is 10%. 10% is going to be equal to 340 divided by 10, which is going to be equal to 34. Notice how I'm not using units this time because the question just says 340, so there's no need for any units. We're just finding out the number. So I can then find 20%, which is going to be my value for 10% times by 2. So this is going to be double 34, which is going to be, sorry, not 3. This is going to be 68. I then need to find my value for 1%, which is going to be my value for 10% divided by 10. There are 10 lots of 1% in 10%, so we divide 10% by 10 to find one of them. My value for 10% is 34. So I'm going to do 34 divided by 10. When I am now dividing by 10, I am shifting everything one column to the right in the place value system. So 34 divided by 10 gives me 3.4. Therefore, 21% of 340 is going to be 68 plus 3.4, which gives me an answer of 71.4. So here are some examples you can keep referring to help you. You may want to write some of these down into your purple exercise book. And can you please now answer the 5 questions below?